Welcome to Feel Better with Lauren. I'm Lauren, and you are getting it. Feeling better is all about balance. Balance in every aspect of your life. Today centers around the downward facing dog pose. Perhaps the perfect pose in all of yoga. Like, subscribe, and hit notify, and we'll keep in touch, and skip past this to the exercise if you already heard this instruction. Connecting the mind and breath, stretching the body, strengthening the body, creating a calm and balanced state. This may be a bit more challenging, so let's take it easy. Now we're starting to build. We're creating a foundation. When people think of yoga, they often think of a person sitting in the lotus position in a meditative state, and that's the perfect balanced position when you're calm and relaxed. Downward dog is the perfect pose when you are active. A lot of people recognize this pose, downward dog. It's what your dog does every morning. Yes, dogs know. It's a combination of all the physical aspects of yoga and also all the mental aspects of yoga. When you've created that perfect balance, you can almost start to be meditative. It's a spot between effort and effortlessness. It's also a transition state. It's a transition between so many different poses. Let's take a look at some of those new poses today. So today we'll start on our knees, and we're just going to get rid of our breath as we always do. Today we want to almost move like we're in slow motion. We use our breath with our mouth closed as always, and we're going to hold for a few breaths on the first time round, and then we'll move through all these poses, almost like we're in slow motion, breathing really, really slowly. That'll keep us calm, that'll keep us engaged with our body. We'll warm up a little tiny bit, starting on the back of the mat, tucking our toes under, and just sitting on our heels a little bit. This creates a huge stretch in the back of your feet. It's a good place to start. Then we'll stretch out our wrists a little bit because we're going to be on our wrists today. The eyes of our elbows facing forward, just moving back and forth. And then we'll move our hands back behind like that if you can, and just move back all the time, staying on our toes. I find the key on this is keeping your feet exactly mirroring each other. If one foot is forward or back, it'll feel awkward on your toes. Next, we'll go into a child's pose, which we know. Same thing as that we've already done that. The key on child's pose is you're actually going to set up where your toes and where your hands are. When we go into our next pose, which is downward dog, we go up on our toes, which are already there. Our hands are in the right spot, and we push back out. The key of downward dog is keeping a straight line between your arm all the way to your hips. So if you need to bend your knees a little bit, it's more important being straight with your back. And then as you get better, you sort of stretch out. Usually we start to settle into downward dog a little bit. You pedal out your feet a little bit and stretch. When you look back, you should hide your ankles behind your feet a little bit. Just find a spot and get to relaxation. From there, with our hands and toes still in the same spot, we move to plank. Plank is with your arms directly underneath your shoulders. You sort of push the ground away, sort of spreading out your shoulder blades. Your hips should be about the same height as your shoulders. You tuck your tailbone a little bit, and that'll engage your core as well. And then when we go down to the ground, we push forward onto our toes and just slowly bring ourselves down. From there, our hands are still in the same spot, and we go up to what's called cobra. And you're using your back and just putting a little tiny bit of strength into your hands. And then back down, and then from there, we perfectly can go back into child's pose, and we'll run it again. And we'll run it the second and third time, just going with our breath. So in and out through each pose. All right, so let's see how they go, and then we'll end up and we'll just do a quick breathe on our knees at the end of it all. Let's see how this goes. Let's go into the exercise. Start off kneeling, put your hands in your lap. We'll do those 3 big breaths to get rid of all the stale air, and then we'll move on to a little stretching, and then we'll move on through a few moves. Let's stretch. Let's go back to the back of our mat. Just tuck our toes in and sit back on our heels a little bit and just stretch the back of our feet. Just see how that feels. And put your arms down, the eyes of your elbows forward, and let's just move back and warm up our wrists a little bit. We'll be on our wrists today. Just a couple of circles. Face the wrist the other way if you can. And just gently stretching out your forearms and your wrists, staying on your toes, moving around. Just feel that stretch. Nothing painful, just feeling good. Sit back and just shake it at your wrists. And let's go into child's pose. Toes close together, knees apart, and just stretch out and forehead to the ground if you can. Feel the stretch in your back. Keep your let's hold for 3 breaths. Last breath in. Take a breath in and move up to downward dog. Just sort of find your spot. Stretch out your feet a little bit. Stretch out your calves. Move around, pedal out your feet. And then start to create a little bit stiller. Keep that straight line between your wrists and your hips. Keep your legs bent a little bit. And then just slowly stretch up to where it feels good and a little bit of stretch. And we'll hold here for 3 breaths. Breathe in as we move to plank. Tuck your tailbone, keep your hips up, push against the ground for 3 breaths. Take a breath in and move forward on your toes and slowly tuck your elbows in and slowly go down to the ground. Put your knees down earlier if you want. And then when you're down here where your hands are, just gently push up into cobra and we'll hold that for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale down to the ground. You can shake out your hips and inhale back to child's pose. And exhale, relax into child's pose. Take a breath, and this time we're going to move through with our breath. So if you're ready, inhale up to downward dog. Exhale, relax into downward dog. Inhale to plank. Exhale, forward on our toes and down to the ground. Inhale up to cobra. Exhale to the ground. Inhale back to child's pose. Exhale, relax into child's pose. Take a breath. Let's do it one last time. So inhale up to downward dog. Exhale, relax into downward dog. Inhale the plank. Exhale to down to the ground. Inhale up to cobra. Exhale to the ground. Inhale back to child's pose. Exhale, relax into child's pose. And then let's come back up onto our knees and just take 3 calming breaths here. So stay here for a little bit if you want, and do a little box breathing if you'd like, or just sit here and think, and do this and get a little bit better at it. Don't strain yourself. If you need to set your knees down, ever you do. If you don't want to hold it quite as long, don't. Let's just do this every day, and then when you're ready, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Always talk to your healthcare professional before starting a new regime. If you experience pain, discomfort, or dizziness, slow down or stop. These videos will become easier each day, but if it doesn't feel right today, go slower or move to another video. Listen to your body.